The first thing that I would like each one of you to do, just briefly, is to demystify the G2G agreement. Given that what we were being told is that the fuel is going to be paid in Kenyan shillings. We have now heard that there is a guarantee by the Kenyan government. We know the fluctuations of the dollar. We know that you've been selling this product to us. And when I say us, I mean Kenyans on a daily basis. That when I go to the gas station, I use my credit card or my cash, I pay. That is you've already received the money. By the time you release your cargo to KPC, so that it goes to to the other oil marketers, you've already received your money. So if you can just try to demystify that to us, because I'm a bit concerned. We are people who dig deeper to be able to get to understand where we're going as a country. If you can demystify that, that would be very, very good. And then from a general perspective, even before I look at your document. Number two also is for you to be able to tell us where we are. I want to be very candid that I'm concerned that I don't know whether we have enough fuel in the country. I don't know whether we're going to have any fuel shortage very soon because of the fluctuations. I want us to be very candid so that we can help each other know how to proceed further. And then, lastly, on my general questions, I'd like to understand your relationship with KCB in terms of the guaranteeing aspect. Are you banking with KCB? The money that you receive, is that money being traded for interest purposes? And why is it that how much has been paid to the supplier? How long does it take for you to pay the supplier? These are just general questions that do not require.
So to just give a general overview, because that's what I understood what you are asking about this structure. The structure of this supply is a supply of the country with extended credit. It talks about two items. The initial supply, if I may give you, is that we used to import the petroleum products under NOTS on a credit period of BL plus 30 days. So one fundamental change on this was BL plus 180 days, where the country was getting BL. Normally, BL is the bill of lading date. The bill of lading date defines the date when the ship completed loading. So what used to happen is that we used to pay the supplier 30 days from the loading date. Now, what is the difference with G2G is that we are paying the supplier BL plus 180 days. And one interesting thing is that the funds reside in the banks that finance the cargo, in particularly KCB was being the main financing bank. So these funds reside in Kenya, both the dollars and the shillings. On the 180 days, the supplier is paid. Then the second issue is that the payment, normally these products are imported for the region, basically Kenya and its neighbors, largely Uganda, South Sudan, part of Rwanda, and part of Eastern DRC. So what happens is, you know, the export market, what we call the transit market, they pay the product in US dollars because it's like a foreign payment. While, as you had said earlier, we talked about Kenyan shillings. So the Kenyan companies who are here in Kenya, they pay their invoices in Kenyan shillings. So at any one time, we generate invoices for both in dollars and in shillings. For the transit market in dollars, and for the local in shillings. The transit market is about 40% of the transaction, and 60% is for the local market. So what happens is that the moment we receive the funds from the, let's say, local oil marketing companies in shillings, we are able to release the product in Kenya pipeline for them to, as you had said, to sell to their customers. What happens is that we have about 120 days to convert these Kenya shillings into dollars, so that by the time the LC is due, we are able to pay it in dollars. So that gives us the opportunity whereby it is issued to be handled by 2 or 3 players only, purchase of the dollars with a bank in a managed environment. Before, if I may explain to you before, is that if we were looking for dollars, for example, we'll talk to maybe 3 of our banks and say, I'm looking for $5 million, $5 million. That the impact of that is it would have looked in the market that I'm looking for $15 million in the market, while in reality I was only looking for $5 million. So this new structure is whereby now, because I have let's say I have a billion shillings, so I'm maybe looking only for $8 million at a go. So I'll discuss with my bank, KCB, and tell them we need to settle this obligation in the next 120 days. So can we plan how we are going to buy the $40 million over 120 days? So it is a neater structure where you don't shock the financial markets because you are actually putting a real demand. So that is the fundamental, or what I'll say, the structure, the new structure in this contract.
One of the key features that we had in the previous arrangement, the open tender system, was we had different oil marketing companies engaging directly with the owners of the product, dealing directly with the international oil companies and sourcing for this product and bringing it into the country and selling it to the other oil marketing companies through a tender system that was coordinated by the Ministry of Energy. But now with the G2G, what we have is a scenario where it is the government that has reached out directly to the international oil companies, that is Saudi Aramco, ENOC and ADNOC, and negotiated the terms of delivery of product. That is, as Paul has mentioned, the 180 days credit and basically giving the assurance that the government is backing this deal by offering the letter of support, so that the international oil company has confidence when extending that credit, because it is the IOC, the international oil company, that is really extending that credit to the country. So in this regard, our involvement as the nominated oil marketing companies, it is purely for the purposes of the operationalization of the G2G arrangement. We come in because the international oil companies does not have direct dealings with the local oil marketing companies here. So Saudi Aramco is not able, for instance, to come in and sell product directly to Shell or to Total or to Rubis. So it was necessary to have a locally registered oil marketing company to then handle that product, to make sure that when the vessel comes to the port of Mombasa, we handle the requisite port documentation and the customs documentation, so that the product is then discharged into the common user facility, that is the storage facilities owned and operated by the Kenya Pipeline Company. So it is just, I felt it is important to just point that out, and that mention that the fact that the role of the nominated oil marketing company in this case is purely as an operational and administrative agent in this deal. The thing maybe I want to talk about is there was a question that Senator Ole-Kina asked about the relationship with the KCB. At the onset, at the beginning of the operationalization of this G2G arrangement, several local financiers were invited to come on board, because what was required, we were looking at, on average, each vessel, the bill comes to around between $80 to $90 million. And we were talking about every month we have about 8 vessels coming. So you're looking at something between $600 to $700 million requirement for the payment of the cargoes that are being delivered every month, in as much as there is extended credit. So it was necessary to have financing partners that are willing to come in and then engage with the international financing banks, so that this deal, the product that is coming into the country, the financial risk is fully covered. So in the case of Kenya for the G2G, one of the early financiers that came on board and had that was big enough and had the structure that were necessary to cover this deal was KCB, and that is how we got involved with KCB. So of course we had to set up accounts with them to facilitate first of all the issuance of the letters of credit to the international oil company, in this case the 3 that I've mentioned, Saudi Aramco, ENOC and ADNOC, and basically guarantee them that when this product comes into the country, after 80 days, the payments that are due for these vessels, these cargoes, will be remitted to the international oil company. So our involvement is and as I mentioned, we are simply agents, is to facilitate the collection of the amounts that are due on these cargoes within 30 days. Because in as much as we are now operating under the G2G arrangement, the payment terms of the open tender system still apply for the local oil marketing companies. The payment that is required has not shifted to 180 days. The local oil marketing companies are still required to pay for their share of the product within 5 days after the vessel has discharged. So we, as the agent, we then facilitate the collection of the funds that are due into a collection account in KCB. So then KCB collects both in dollars for the transit product and in Kenya shillings for the local, the product that is going to be consumed locally. And then after 90 days after the product has been discharged off the vessel, then KCB works closely with the National Treasury to begin purchasing of dollars, so that by the 80th day, or the 180th day, sorry, the funds are then transferred to the international oil company as the letter of credit matures.
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, you've indicated clearly that the arrangements with the oil marketers in terms of payment terms still is as it was with the open tender system. So they pay you within 5 days.
Yes.
And we've been told that 60% of the commodity is consumed locally in Kenya shillings.
Correct.
Now I just want you to take me on a journey. For the last 180 days, how has the dollar and the shilling behaved? Has it been on a downtrend? Has it been on an upper trend? Because you've indicated that by the 180th day is when now you engage with KCB and Treasury to be able to start buying the dollars to pay off the commodities.
Actually, it's by the 90th
day.
Yes.
Still 90th day. So within 90 days, how has the Kenya shilling behaved towards the dollar? Are you digging a bigger hole, or are you able to sustain? Because I'm concerned that if I pay you today in shillings, tomorrow if you go to the market with my shillings, you will not be able to get the dollars equivalent to the same amount that you sold to the people in Rwanda, in Congo, for you to be able to pay the vessel. So just explain to me how we deal with that issue of the dollar fluctuation, because it's a big concern for me.
All of us, all the oil marketing companies, we were going out into the market to try and purchase dollars because we needed to fulfill our OTS obligations in dollars. And at that time, we were dealing with two issues. There was, of course, the dollar illiquidity, and of course, the rapid depreciation of the shilling. So with the G2G implementation, the question of dollar illiquidity was significantly reduced, because now we no longer had to pay for product in Kenya shillings. Now, with the in dollars, sorry. But now with the as regards the depreciation of the shilling, what we have noticed is that yes, there has still continued. We have still witnessed continued depreciation, but the rate has been a bit slower. Because at the time when we were going into the G2G, we were purchasing dollars at a rate of around 145 shillings, but to the dollar, and it was really difficult around that time, in the commercial market. But now we noticed that once the G2G kicked in, because the demand for the dollars had reduced, say by 60%, the rate of depreciation slowed down somewhat, and it was not as rapid as we witnessed it during the first quarter of the year.
You're painting a very positive picture in terms of the G2G agreement with the dollar. But is that really the reality? And I just want us to be honest with each other on that, because we are not trying to be adversarial. We're trying to find a way to have a proper solution. Because right now, if you go to the market to buy dollars, it is about 150, 152. Soon it's going to be around 150, 160 shillings to the dollar. That period of 180 days, yet you are still getting the money from the oil marketers within the 5 days. Why can't you work within those 5 days to be able to purchase the dollar so that you have the dollar? Because I believe that you are still digging a big hole. Because I'm paying you money in shillings, but you're going out to take that shillings to convert it to dollars so you to be able to pay for the commodity. I just need to understand. And then my last question to you on that same thing is that, are there any instances that you're not able to raise an LC? Because you've only indicated that it is, you said in the earlier days of the financing, KCB came on board because they're the bigger party. Were you able to onboard other institutions, or you only dealing with KCB? And then, are you always able to raise an LC to be able to guarantee the commodity? That, you know, there are like 3 or 4 vessels in the high seas coming, you need X amount of money to pay. Are you always able to raise that LC from KCB? Or have you onboarded any more companies?
The depreciation. We are not experts, and we can tell you for sure when we began this transaction in March, it is true, we were buying dollars at about 145 then. And even that, the worst part was we were not getting the dollars. You were going to the market to look for 2 million, you are getting 100,000. So what she's saying is true. We've actually seen the shilling depreciating, yes, but much lower than before. And one of the issues you have asked is that why can't we be able to buy maybe dollars much earlier? I think it is beyond our mandate, Senator, as YMCs who have been nominated. This is a point which probably you could clarify with the Ministry of Energy and Treasury, because the documents we have submitted shows that it is actually done in a particular way. It's not supposed to be done over a period of 90 days. So it's beyond our mandate. Maybe this should be a question should be directed to Ministry of Energy and Petroleum.
Because I like the fact that you say you are brought in to administer. Your role is purely administration. When it comes to the issue of administration, you don't close your eyes when you see something is going bad. It is a fact. In fact, if you go to Bloomberg, if you go to any financial management consultants, they'll tell you over the last 1 year, the Kenya shillings has depreciated over 24% to the dollar. Minimum of 24%. So my question to you is very simple, and I know some questions are above your pay grade, in the sense that we have to engage Treasury, we have to engage the ministry. But from an administrative perspective, you are purchasing the commodity today. The commodity is being guaranteed today that is going to be paid. You are being paid 60% of the commodity in Kenya shillings. You are keeping that Kenya shillings for 180 days, and by the 90th day, half 50% of the time that you have the agreement is when you begin to now purchase the dollars. I mean, seriously, this is not quantum physics, this is pure logic. Within 90 days, if the depreciations have been 24%, really, you think within those, over the last 1 year, within those 90 days, it will not be affected and you will not be hitting back into the common mananchi pocket to be able to pay. That's all I wanted to know. So that if it is an issue of administration, we see how we can help each other save the wananchi. It is not about you saying, okay, and I want to repeat, this process is not adversarial. It's a process that helps us be able to have a better solution. You've made it very clear, and I appreciate you being very candid. You've indicated clearly that the payment terms of the other oil marketers, Total, Shell, still remain within 5 days. 5 days. Don't you think maybe within those 5 days you could work with them and say, pay us in dollars for us to put this money, to save this money in dollars? I mean, I'm just trying to be realistic here. Yeah. Are you always able to raise the LC, or do you have difficulties raising the LC? Number two, it's a very simple question. This one does not require the Cabinet Secretary to be seated here or anybody else. I'll ask the right question. Are you always able to raise the LCs to guarantee the product? Question number one. Question number two, have you onboarded other financial institutions, or you're only dealing with KCB? Number three, with KCB keeping 1 billion shillings for 180 days, does that money stay like that, or do they do overnight trading? And is there any value for money for them keeping that money? Those are basic questions that I ask from an administrative perspective. So if you can ask me, if you say you have no answers, I'll still take that.
One aspect, when we went to release a G2G arrangement around early in the year, as mentioned, the dollar had already moved as high as 145. We had, the country was experiencing a big challenge because all the OMCs, over 75 of us, will go to the market, call 3 or 4 banks. So with that, then we were just creating some artificial demand because we'll be duplicating. If I call 4 banks and my requirement is $5 million, then I'm creating a 20 million demand. Then one of the big challenge was we were almost bordering to issue around the security of supply, because when the OMCs go to the market, then they are looking for 5 million. They are only able to get 100. So the issue was we come up with a solution whereby the country does not stock out, because these products are only released once the payment has been cited by the bank. So this new arrangement of deviating from the 30 days from the bill of lading when the ship loaded to the bill of lading plus 180 days and paying in Kenyan shillings helped to guarantee security of supply to the country.
We have ample time to start engagements with the KCB and open the relevant letters of credit that are necessary for delivery of product into the country. Now, you also asked whether other financing institutions have been onboarded. Yes, the answer is yes. So right now, it is not just KCB that is financing these cargoes. We have other banks that have also come on board to finance these cargoes and issue letters of credit to the IOCs.
Which are those banks?
I can check up that. INN Bank, Diamond Trust Bank, and UBA.
So my last question. So now you're able to negotiate within 4 institutions on opening up an LC to guarantee the product. Question again. Are you having any problems with them or no? So that and I'm happy, very happy that the first part of your response was good. You said you've never had any challenges. I'm always just being future centric in the sense that I don't want tomorrow to not get fuel for my car. So the question is still the same question. Are you able, or are you still having, do you have some challenges, or you're not?
Senator, I think with the onboarding on more bankers, we are able to get enough LCs, and that's why we have enough product in the country. If you were to talk to Kenya Pipeline today, you'll realize there's a lot of product all over the country, and there's no challenge.
That is a very good answer, because I'll take you that later. I'll challenge you on that later. But today, I'm happy with that answer.
As my colleague said, we were nominated to complete the transaction. Our role is really operational, in nature, administrative. So we haven't taken any risk. And secondly, if you may ask me also, is that we are Kenyans. I mean, this is our country. Kenya will always surmount its challenges. With G, I'll answer this way. There are 3 main drivers of prices into our country. The first one is the international price of oil in the international market, which is published every day internationally. That price, as you know, has risen because of Russia and maybe currently because of this Israel situation. Would you do anything to that as a non-producer? You cannot do anything about that. So that price at the moment is high. The second issue which affects the price into this country is the exchange rate. The Kenyan shilling, as we all know, has depreciated. So when you multiply that number of dollars, that depreciating shilling, you will see a higher price. If you were to look at what the government negotiated with IOCs, because they only negotiated really 2 items only, the credit period and the premium. This premium, they go, in my opinion, they negotiated a good premium, and the reason why do I say that? When you compare our premium with our neighbors, Tanzania in particular, we have a better premium than them. So the main issue is the international oil prices, which really is international in nature. Kenya cannot do multiply those, and of course, which I did not want to say, which is within the control of Parliament or the country, is obviously the macroeconomics of the country. So those 2 main items, the exchange rate and the international prices, is what determines actually the prices. And unfortunately, the international price at the moment is quite high. The shilling has depreciated, and therefore the cost of the oil into the consumer has gone to those levels we see today.
And just my 2 cents response to your response is that I don't buy that, because the cost of fuel here in Kenya, about 50% of it is taxes. So let's not get into that debate, which is probably above your pay grade. The issue that I want to ask is this. In our letter, so that we know, because today we have not gone through your responses, we will go through them, and I'm sure, and Chair will request that maybe before we even close this, just the members remain here with the Secretariat for 5 minutes and wait outside there, so that we now give them the way forward, because there are a few things that I'm not very happy about. You have indicated to us here that you have INM, DTB, and UPA. In our letter to you, we indicated the following: a copy of signed financial agreements between Galana Energies and the commercial banks, or banks, BANKS, guaranteeing the agreement. Have you, in your submissions, presented to us your agreement between yourselves and INM, DTB, and UPA, and KCB? Those 4. That's a very simple question.
We have not submitted because those agreements are confidential in nature, and we will have to seek the permission of the banks for us to be able to submit.
But you submitted an agreement between KCB and yourselves in the document that you submitted here?
And government, because those are public documents.
Okay, let me school you a little bit. When you're called before an oversight committee, you're asked to submit your document. There is nothing confidential, because this is a matter that is affecting Kenyans. Senator Halwale has asked a very simple question about the G2G agreement in terms of reducing the cost of fuel. We haven't started looking at your documents. We will look at them. We have asked, how many banks do you have agreements with? You said, first of all, from the beginning, KCB. You've added 3 other financial institutions. Why will you cherry pick what to provide to this committee? Section 19, I think 18 and 19 of our parliamentary powers and privileges are very clear. Article 125 of the Constitution is also very clear in terms of submitting of documents, where this committee, Article 125, is clear in the sense that this committee has, when it sits to interrogate witnesses, it has the same powers as the High Court of Kenya. So we're not here to play politics or to play any games. We're here to have a discussion and to be able to put everything.
I have also submitted a letter from the Senator said I give a small summary. This agreement basically states the agreement for the G2G. Basically, it talks about the delivery period, it talks about the price, it talks about the credit days. So this is really the agreement, the master agreement, which governs this transaction. And OMC, the other document which I have submitted is actually a document which Ministry of Energy and Petroleum notified the oil leaders that will be nominated by ENOC and ADNOC. And this master framework agreement is actually has all the information who covers this transaction. The third document which I have submitted is a letter of support issued by the National Treasury to support the G2G import, dated 30th June 2023, and I have attached as part of my documentation. The fourth document which I have submitted is a tripartite financing agreement between the nominated OMCs, the Government of Kenya, and KCB. And to just clarify, KCB was the initial bank which financed this transaction. The other banks which Senator Ole-Kina has talked about, is they just signed a deed of adherence, just accepting the same terms. I have also attached.
Sorry, not Senator Ole-Kina talked about the other banks that you said. So just name the 3 banks.
So the 3 banks which have signed the deed of adherence are INM Bank, Diamond Trust Bank, and UBA Bank. I have also attached as an annex the amounts of money paid for the LCs which have matured. And as I mentioned earlier during our earlier discussion, the payment terms for a bill of lading debt plus 180 days. And since this transaction started in March, a number of transactions have reached already the 180 days, and I've put a summary of what has been paid. And so far, what has been paid is $686 million. It is annexed, and what is in the bank and pending to be paid is $1 billion and 87 billion shillings.
For Oryx, we are the nominated oil marketing company for Saudi Aramco, and what I have submitted include the following. The first one is the Master Framework Agreement governing the terms and conditions of the G2G, the one that was signed between the government of Kenya and Saudi Aramco, being the international oil company that nominated Oryx as its agent. So in this agreement, which was signed on the 10th of March 2023, there are various stipulations on the obligations of the Kenya government as well as the obligations of the international oil company, in this case Saudi Aramco. The second document that I've submitted is the letter of support from the government of Kenya, that is the National Treasury, which basically guarantees this transaction under the G2G arrangement. The third document that I've submitted is a tripartite agreement between the government, the nominated OMCs. It was a standard document that was signed by all the three nominated OMCs, that is Oryx, Galana, and Gulf Energy, and the financier at the time when these documents were being signed, in this case being the Kenya Commercial Bank. So it is this document that basically stipulates the warranties and the abilities of all the three parties, including the obligations of the financier and those of the nominated OMC, and also talks about the management of the forex risk. In my cover letter, I have also tabulated the details of the total amounts that relate to the cargoes or vessels that Oryx Energies has delivered on behalf of Saudi Aramco. The total value of the cargoes being $247,773,379, out of which a total amount of $85,853,379 has already been paid for the letter of credit that fell due in the month of October. The balance being $161,920,000 is still not yet paid, but is currently sitting with the bank pending maturity of the letters of credit associated with the cargoes that were delivered. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The first document being the Master Framework Agreement dated 10th of March 2023 between Aramco Trading and the government of Kenya. This is the document now detailing how the G2G transaction would be administered. The second document is a letter of support from the National Treasury and Economic Planning, which is giving, also explaining how the issues around the transaction from the aspect of the National Treasury will be supported. The third document is the tripartite agreement between the Republic of Kenya, the nominated OMCs, and KCB Bank. Kenya being the bank which was on the onset when we started this transaction before onboarding the other banks as discussed. And then on the cover letter, we have also detailed the total amounts supplied by Galana Energies. The total amount is $478,064,249.96. $478,064,249.96. Amount paid to date is $76,528,736.2, amount outstanding with the bank KCB awaiting the maturity of the letter of credits to fall due is 401,535,513.76. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in closing remarks, because I've already really interrogated this matter to some extent. I just note that there's a lot of money pending to be paid. And I do hope that in terms of your company, the 161 million which is pending, that money will be available. The other one I think was 47 million. The other one was about 1 billion. For your company, you seem to have the largest share of the three. My hope is that this week we will not have a shortage of fuel. I noticed that there is a lot of talk out there, and I like being very candid, that you've not been able to raise LCs to guarantee the products. I don't want to take that as a gospel truth. You have assured this committee that you will indeed be able to raise the LCs. I note that there's a lot of money pending. $1 billion is not pocket change. I hope that you can be able to spread your risk. I note that relying in one financial institution might be a big burden. It will be prudent for you to supply this committee, and I'm sure the chair is going to be giving a directive on that. On the other agreement, you indicated that it was only one agreement signed. The other one signed a letter of adherence, which I think in simple English it means that they will abide by the same terms of agreement. There's nothing confidential in that. We're here to ensure fiduciary responsibility on each one of us. It behooves me as the senator to represent my people, and it also behooves you as one who is benefiting from my people who I represent, to be able to put everything in the air, to encourage a society where everyone will feel that they are contributing, or their contribution in this earth is not in vain. As the chair will be able to direct you further, we want to be clear as to how much you pay for the fuel when the fuel comes in. That is normally hidden in secrecy. I think on your part, my advice to you would be, since you're dealing with the administrative aspect of this transaction, waiting for 180 days to be able to look for $1 billion will sink you further. Since you've received most of that, 60% of that money you've received in Kenya shillings, it will sink you further. My advice to you is this: you adhere to the former arrangement of the 5 days. They're paying you in 5 days. Within those 5 days, quietly, you can convert the money, save the money in dollars and everything. We'll interrogate your agreement with KCB to see how they're trading. But you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm not very comfortable sitting here. But if you assure me that by the end of this week we'll not have fuel shortage in this country,
that there will be no fuel shortage, I can assure you that at any one time we have a ship in Mombasa waiting to berth and discharge, so there's enough petroleum in the country. Secondly, on the issue of the dollar, I think once you go through the document, there's a document called the tripartite agreement, you will understand the structure. So we kindly request that let your committee have a look at the document first, then we stand guided after that.
For me, I think I want to address the question by Senator Abbas, where he asked what challenges we have had. Maybe what I would just want to mention is what we experienced during the initial months of the implementation of the G2G, and which was also an opportunity for all of us, both the nominated OMCs and the ministry as well, to learn. It was mainly in the operationalization of this G2G, where we were delivering product on the basis of making sure that we delivered the number of cargoes that are stipulated in the contract every month. And what that did is that we overlooked the need to really tie the supply of product to the actual demand in the market. So we ended up with a somewhat distortion of the market supply-demand balance. But the good thing, like I had mentioned at the beginning when we started the session, was that because of the fact that the government can now engage directly with the IOCs and, you know, look at ways in which we can operationalize these arrangements so that the market here, both the local market and the regional market, gets the full benefit. The ministry was able to do that, and now we have streamlined the way in which the cargoes arrive so that we don't have the market vessels arriving all at once and ending up incurring necessary demurrage at the port.
Aspect of the G2G was to ensure that we have security of supply, and I think for the last 6 months we have not had any issue around the supply. The country is very well supplied, and as my colleague here mentioned, is that we always have ships in Mombasa and are waiting to discharge. So we assure you that the country is well supplied. Thank you.